The silence behind her smile. The day started like most others on the set. Quiet calls over radios, makeup artists rushing with brushes, cameras being wheeled into place. The crew buzzed softly under the golden lights, and the director was already shouting about lighting angles and emotional tension. It was a normal film day. At least that's what everyone thought. Keanu Reeves arrived early, as usual. He didn't say much, just nodded kindly to the crew, helped a grip carry a sandbag, and brought coffee to one of the new assistants. He always did things like that. No cameras needed, no audience. He just did it because he thought it was right. Anna. The armas came in a little later, her long coat hiding most of her frame. Her face had its usual glow, her smile soft but tired. Keanu noticed her the moment she stepped on set. It wasn't her walk, or her hair, or her makeup that caught his eye. It was the way she held her left wrist, tightly, almost like she was hiding it. He said nothing. The scene they were filming that day was an emotional one. Anna's character had just lost someone close, and she was meant to break down in tears while Keanu's character stood by, unsure how to comfort her. It was delicate, painful, intimate. Perfect for the kind of story they were telling. The director, a sharp man with cold eyes, wanted everything real. No fake crying, no fake emotion. He shouted that pain had to bleed through the lens. Anna tried to prepare. She sat on the edge of the stage steps, breathing in deeply. But her fingers still trembled. Keanu watched her from across the room. He didn't want to stare. He respected her space. But something inside him felt wrong. He had worked with her before. He knew her laugh, her rhythm, her strength. And this was not that. Her eyes were heavy, not tired. Something else. Something deeper. The makeup artist came to fix a spot on Anna's cheek. As she gently moved her sleeve to adjust the collar of her costume, Keanu caught a glimpse of her wrist. His heart froze. A deep purple bruise marked her skin. It wasn't makeup. It wasn't part of the character. It was real. Keanu turned his eyes away quickly, pretending he hadn't seen it. But inside he was burning. Anna quickly pulled her sleeve down, forcing a smile at the makeup artist, pretending everything was fine. But it wasn't fine. They began filming. The camera rolled. Anna tried to cry on cue. Her voice cracked, her body shook, and she gave it everything she had. But there was a strange silence in her eyes. The tears were real, but not for the character. Keanu stepped into the scene. He was supposed to speak. Softly, hold her hand. Look at her with confusion and warmth. But when he reached for her hand, she flinched. Just for a second. Just enough for him to feel it. He didn't say his line. He looked down at her wrist again. This time she didn't pull away. She knew he had seen. And there, in that quiet moment, her eyes filled with something different. Not fear, not shame, but pleading. She wasn't asking for help out loud. She didn't need to. He had already heard it. "Cut!" the director shouted. "Keanu, what happened? You missed your line." Keanu stood up straight. His jaw tightened. "We're done," he said softly. The entire room froze. The director laughed, thinking it was a joke. "Very funny. Now let's go again." Keanu shook his head. "We're done," he repeated. This time louder, he turned to Anna, looked her in the eyes, and nodded gently. She didn't move, but tears began rolling down her face. Without another word, Keanu walked off the set. People called after him. The director shouted. Someone tried to follow him, but he didn't stop. Behind him, Anna sat still, the silence heavier than ever. The crew whispered. Someone asked what was happening. Others argued over time and budget. But in the corner, the sound. Technician, an older man who had been quiet all morning, just whispered he saw. The makeup artist placed a blanket over Anna's shoulders. Someone brought her water. No one knew what to do next. Outside, Keanu stood by his car. His hands trembled, not in anger. In heartbreak, he didn't know what had happened. Not yet. He knew one thing. Whatever it was, she didn't deserve to go through it alone. He didn't come back that day. Anna didn't either by nightfall. The news had leaked. People were guessing, gossiping, twisting the story. But none of them knew the truth. Only Keanu and Anna did. And deep inside, That truth was heavier than either of them was ready to carry alone. But something had started. A silence had been broken, and silence, once broken, cannot be unheard. She didn't expect him to show up again. The next morning was colder than usual, and the sky over Los Angeles felt heavier. Gray clouds moved slow across the horizon, as if even the weather knew something serious had happened. Anna didn't sleep that night. After Keanu walked off set, she sat in her trailer for a long time, alone, holding a warm cloth over her wrist. She had tried to cover it up for weeks, thinking no one noticed, but yesterday, he did. Keanu had seen her pain without her saying a word. He had stopped everything, walked out. Because of her, no one had ever done that before. Her phone buzzed nonstop. Calls from the production team. Missed messages from the director. Even a warning from her agent. This could get messy. Do not talk to the press. But Anna ignored them all. She kept replaying that moment in her mind. Keanu's eyes. The quiet in his voice. The way he didn't ask questions. He just knew. Meanwhile, Keanu spent the night in his quiet home in the hills. He didn't tell anyone what he saw. He didn't call anyone either. He sat on his porch, watching the lights below, just trying to calm his thoughts. He wanted to respect Anna's privacy, but he also couldn't stay silent. He had seen, too, many people in pain during his life. And he had always told himself that if he ever saw something like that again, real pain, hidden behind a smile, he wouldn't look away. And now he had a choice. Go back to work like nothing happened, or go to her. By noon, Anna was still curled, up in a hoodie, sitting on her apartment balcony, sipping cold tea that she hadn't touched in an hour. Her phone buzzed again, but this time it wasn't from the crew. It was from the front desk of her building, Miss Armas. The voice said softly, "There's someone here asking to see you. He's very polite, says his name is Keanu." Anna froze. She didn't answer for a few seconds. "Send him up," she whispered. 2 minutes later, a gentle knock came at the door. When she opened it, he was standing there, holding a brown paper bag. "Hey," he said softly. She didn't speak, just stepped aside. He walked in slowly, placed the bag on her kitchen counter. The smell of warm soup filled the room. "I didn't know what else to bring," he said. "This place near me makes the best chicken soup." Anna managed a faint smile. "Thank you." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Keanu looked at her wrist, still hidden under her sleeve. He didn't ask. Instead, he said, "I saw something yesterday. I didn't mean to. But now that I have, I can't pretend I didn't." I looked down. Her fingers tightened around her mug. "I'm not here to ask questions," he continued. "I'm here because I care, because I think no one should have to carry pain like that alone." Her eyes began to fill. "Do you want to talk?" he asked gently. She shook her head. "Not yet." "That's okay," he said. "I'll stay anyway." And he did. They sat there, not saying much. He poured soup into bowls, handed her one. She held it close, like it warmed more than just her hands. An hour passed. Then 2. Finally, as the sun lowered and the sky turned orange, Anna spoke. "His name is Lucas," she said quietly. Keanu didn't interrupt. "We met before I got this role," she continued. "He was charming, kind at least in the beginning. I thought he cared about me." Her voice cracked, but then things changed. He got angry easily, jealous of everyone, started yelling, grabbing, sometimes worse. Keanu's face didn't change. He just listened. "I thought if I worked harder, stayed calmer, did everything right, maybe he'd stop." She laughed, a sad, tired sound, but it never stopped, and I kept hiding it from everyone, even from myself. Keanu's voice was soft. "You don't have to hide anymore." Anna looked at him, her eyes full of exhaustion. "Didn't want to ruin the production. I didn't want people to see me as weak." "You're not weak," he said. "You're still here. Showed up every day, smiled through pain. No one weak can do that." Anna wiped a tear from her cheek. "Thank you," she whispered. Keanu nodded. "What are you going to do?" he asked. "I don't know," she said honestly. but I think I need to tell someone. Maybe even report it. I'm just scared. Reached across the table and gently placed his hand over hers. You won't do it alone. Anna finally let herself cry, and Keanu sat there with her. Quietly, respectfully, patiently. When she was ready, she picked up her phone and called her lawyer. She didn't tell the full story yet, just asked for a meeting. It was the first step. Later, that night, Keanu left her apartment. But before he did, he said one last thing. You're not just a co-star to me, Anna. You're a person I care about. I'm proud of you. She nodded, speechless. When he closed the door behind him, she finally exhaled, a breath she had been holding for too many months. That night, for the first time in a long time, she slept without fear. Outside in the quiet streets of Los Angeles, Keanu walked alone under the streetlights. He didn't need to tell anyone what he had done, but in his heart, he knew something had changed. Not just for her, but for him too. They tried to silence her, but he refused to stay. Quietana sat in her lawyer's office the next day, gripping the armrest of the chair. Her hands trembled, but her voice stayed steady. This wasn't easy. Nothing about it was. But she was ready. Now, not because the fear had disappeared, but because someone had believed her. Keanu's single quotes words stayed in her mind. You're not alone. Her lawyer, a soft-spoken woman with kind eyes, listened closely as Anna shared everything. No interruptions. No judgment. Just silence and a steady hand offering tissues when the pain slipped through her voice. When Anna finished, her lawyer leaned forward. What he's done, she said gently. It's not just wrong. It's illegal. I have every right to protect. Yourself, Anna nodded. Double quotes, I want to, she said. But I also want to work. I don't want this to become a circus. The lawyer nodded. We'll move carefully. With truth, no drama, no shouting, just facts. Anna finally exhaled, but the real storm hadn't begun yet. Back on the film set, chaos was quietly brewing. The director was furious. He didn't say it out loud at first, but his tone had changed. His voice sharper, his patience thinner. He didn't like that his lead actress had stopped showing up. He hated that his most respected actor had walked out without explanation. Keanu was still silent to the press. No statements, no interviews. But behind the scenes, whispers were rising. One producer called Anna's agent, warning her. Tell her to get back to work. People are talking. She's jeopardizing the film. Another email came. This could cost millions. She's making a big mistake. Keanu saw it all. But she didn't reply. Keanu called her that night. They're going to come after you, he said softly. They'll try to protect themselves. I know, she said, but I'm not scared anymore. He paused. I'm with you, he said. I know, she whispered. The next day, the first leak appeared online. An anonymous blog post claiming that Anna was emotionally unstable, that she had caused delays on set, that she had personal problems unrelated to the film. No names were attached, but the damage was aimed directly at her. Keanu read the post that morning. He didn't slam his laptop shut. He didn't call anyone in anger. Instead, he called his manager and said, I need to make a public statement today. The manager hesitated. Keanu, this might affect the studio relationship. I don't care. And so, later that afternoon, Keanu released a simple, honest message online. There are moments in life when silence becomes betrayal. I walked off set because I witnessed something that needed care, not cameras. Anna is one of the strongest people I know. She deserves respect, not rumors. I stand by her, always. It wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, but it roared across the internet. Within an hour, the post had gone viral. People shared it. Actors reposted it. Thousands of fans began flooding the director's social media pages, demanding answers. The narrative had shifted. Anna's lawyer called. That message changed everything. She said Anna didn't cry. Not this time. She simply said, I want to keep going. I want to take this all the way. The legal papers were prepared. Formal complaint. Quiet warning to Lucas, her ex, and a step toward reclaiming her story. But then something unexpected happened. The studio called a meeting. They wanted both Keanu and Anna to attend. Her lawyer warned her. They might pressure you. Be careful. Keanu arrived at the meeting first. He wore a black shirt and quiet strength. Anna walked in 10 minutes later. Head held high. The studio head, a man in his 60s, tried to smile. We're concerned about the film, he began. Things are delicate. We need to find a solution. Keanu leaned forward. The solution is to support Anna. The man hesitated, of course. But we need to be realistic. The audience doesn't need to know personal matters. I want to protect everyone's image. Anna spoke up. I'm not ashamed of the truth, she said, and I'm not hiding it anymore. The room fell silent. The man looked between them. Are you both refusing to return to set? Keanu didn't hesitate. Not until she feels safe. Anna nodded, and not until people stop trying to silence me. There was a long pause. Finally, the studio head sighed. We'll make a plan. He said, we'll adjust. But know this, we're watching everything closely. As they left the building, Keanu looked at Anna. That was brave, he said. I was shaking inside, she admitted. You still did it, he replied. They stood outside the building as the wind moved gently around them. You know, Keanu said, most people would have backed down. But you stood up. Because someone saw me, she said. And believed me, he smiled. Sometimes, he said, that's all it takes. That night, the news broke across major outlets. Not rumors. Not gossip. Just one headline. Keanu Reeves stands with Ana de Armas after walking off set. She deserves respect, and suddenly the world saw her not as a headline but as a human being. They told him to move on, but he stayed. A week had passed since Keanu's statement went public. Since then, everything had changed. Anna's story was no longer hidden behind closed doors. It was out, not in every detail, but in its truth. Silence was broken. People were talking. Some praised her courage. Others whispered doubts. But the world could no longer pretend nothing had happened. And through it all, Keanu never left her side. Most actors would have distanced themselves. After all, controversy meant risks. It meant contracts could be canceled, brands could back away, and studios could pull funding. But Keanu didn't care about that. He cared about one thing: standing by the truth. Every day, he checked on Anna. Sometimes in person, sometimes through quiet text messages. Did you eat today? You want to go for a walk? You don't have to be okay. I'm here anyway. Simple words, but they meant everything to her. The studio was trying to recover. Behind the scenes, they reshuffled production schedules. They hired a new director. The old one had resigned suddenly, though everyone knew he had been pushed out officially. No one said it was because of Keanu or Anna, but everyone knew it was. Anna's legal case had begun moving forward. Her lawyer helped her file a restraining order against Lucas. She also quietly connected her with a support group for women who had gone through similar pain. Anna didn't feel ready to speak in front of others yet, but she listened. And in those rooms she found something powerful. Other voices that had also been afraid and had survived. Keanu waited outside every time she went. He never asked what was shared inside. Just sat patiently in the car, sometimes reading a book, sometimes staring at the sky. He just wanted her to know she wasn't alone. But the pressure around them kept rising. One morning, Keanu's agent called in a panic. They're threatening to replace you, he said. You need to finish the movie or they'll cut you. Keanu didn't flinch. Let them. Keanu, this is millions of dollars we're talking about. Some things are worth more than money. You've made your point. It's time to move on. I'll move when she's ready, not before. And with that, he hung up. Anna heard about the call later that night. They were sitting in his kitchen, eating simple food, rice and lentils, while a quiet jazz record played in the background. You didn't have to do that, she said. I know, you could lose everything. And maybe I didn't need it in the first place. She looked at him with tears in her eyes. Why are you doing this? Keanu looked at her. Because once in a while, life gives you a moment where you're supposed to show who you really are. And if you stay silent in that moment, You lose yourself. Anna took a deep breath. I want to finish the film, she said. He looked surprised. You sure? Yes, she nodded. But I want to finish it on my terms. No fear, no pretending. If I go back, I want to be stronger than when I left. Keanu smiled. Then we go back. Together. The next morning, Anna walked back onto the film set. It looked different. Some crew members had been replaced. Others greeted her with warm nods, quiet respect. No one asked questions. No one made jokes. The air was more careful now, more aware. Keanu walked beside her, calm and steady. They rehearsed the same scene, the one where she was supposed to break down. But this time, something was different. Anna didn't fake her tears. She let them come, naturally, not because the script said so, but because healing had a strange way of opening up the soul. And Keanu, standing across from her, didn't act either. He just looked. At her, proud, strong, silent. When the scene ended, the new director didn't shout cut, just whispered thank you. The entire room stood in quiet stillness for a long moment. No one clapped. No one moved. They just watched something honest happen in front of the camera. And sometimes, honesty is the most powerful thing a film can show. After the shoot, Keanu and Anna walked to the edge of the lot. She looked at him. Thank you for staying, she said. You stayed too, he replied. I was scared, and you still came back. She smiled softly. Do you think people will ever stop talking? Maybe, he said. But that's not the goal. The goal is to live your truth, even when it's loud. She looked up at the sky. For the first time, she said, I don't feel like I'm hiding anymore. He nodded. You're not. The award night no one expected 3 months later, the film was complete. It was quiet now. No more headlines. No more leaked blog posts. The world had moved on, as it always does. But Anna hadn't forgotten, and neither had Keanu their film. A story about love, loss, and silent strength was finally released, and surprisingly, it was a success. It's not because of expensive marketing or loud promotions, it was the honesty. People saw something real in it. They felt the emotion behind every word, every glance, every tear. What they didn't know was that the most powerful scenes weren't acted, they were lived. Anna didn't do interviews at first. She kept a low profile, spending more time in quiet places, but she watched everything unfold. Strangers sent her letters. Women wrote about how they left bad relationships after reading her story. Some even said she saved their lives. Keanu received similar messages. Some people called him a hero. But he never agreed with that. He said he just did what any decent person should do. I didn't save anyone, he said once during a podcast. I just didn't walk away when it got uncomfortable. That answer became famous. People printed it on posters, shared it on social media. It touched something deep in the hearts of millions. And then, the unexpected happened. The film was nominated for an international award. Best Performance, Ana de Armas. Best Supporting Actor, Keanu Reeves. And Best Emotional Scene. The one they had filmed after returning to the set together when Anna got the news. She stared at her phone for a long time. She had never dreamed of awards. Not anymore. Not after what she went through. She had just wanted peace. But this meant the world had heard her, and now they were listening. The award night came fast. The ceremony was set in a grand old theater filled with golden lights and velvet curtains. Stars walked the red carpet in expensive suits and shimmering dresses. But when Anna stepped out of the car that night, she wore something simple. A soft, pale dress. Nothing flashy, no diamonds. But she walked tall, and beside her Keanu in a black suit, no tie, and his usual quiet smile. As they entered the venue, people turned. Reporters leaned forward, but Anna wasn't nervous. She held. Her head high, her wrists now bare, and wore sleeves to hide behind. They sat in the front row. The announcer called names. Laughter echoed between speeches. Then came the moment. For Best Performance, the host said in a film that moved the hearts of millions, the award goes to Ana de Armas. Applause filled the theater. Anna stood slowly. For a moment, she couldn't move, not because she was shocked, but because her heart was full. Keanu reached over and squeezed her hand. "Go," he whispered. She stepped up onto the stage. Her hands held the award gently. Then she looked into the crowd. For a moment everything was silent, and then she spoke. "A year ago," she said softly, "I almost quit acting." The crowd listened closely, not because of failure, but because of fear. She paused. "I thought silence would protect me, but I was wrong. Silence only gave pain more power. Someone saw what I was hiding, not just the bruises on my skin, but the fear in my heart, and he didn't look away." She turned toward Keanu. He stood with me, without asking questions, without needing to understand everything. And because of that, I found my voice again. The room was quiet. No coughs, no claps. Just hearts listening. "This award isn't just mine," she said. "It belongs to every person who ever thought they had to smile through pain. You don't. Your story matters, and you don't have to face it alone." Applause rose slowly. Not the kind that explodes all at once, but the kind that builds from emotion, layer by layer, until the whole room stands. Keanu clapped. Not as a co-star, but as a friend. Later that night, they sat on a quiet rooftop, far from the noise of the party. A simple table, chairs. The city lights glowing below. Anna placed the award on the table. "I never thought I'd see this day," she said. Keanu looked at her. "I did," he said. "Really? The first moment you stood up for yourself? I saw it in your eyes." Smiled, then turned serious. "You gave me strength." "No," he said. "You had it all along. I just reminded you where it was." They sat in silence for a while. Not awkward silence. Just peace. Anna looked up at the stars. "Do you think people will forget this one day?" she asked. "Maybe," he said. "But what matters is that you'll never forget how far you came." "You think others will find courage through this?" "They already have." Anna placed her hand over her heart. "Then it was worth it." He nodded. "It always is." The kindness that never needed a cameraman's past. The awards were over. The headlines faded. New stories took over the spotlight, and the world, as it always does, moved on. But for Anna, life was just beginning again. She had moved into a new apartment near the sea. No more locked doors or hushed arguments. No more hiding. Every morning, she opened her windows and let the sunlight in. She had begun writing, journaling quietly in the early hours, sometimes poems, sometimes memories. All of them honest. She started smiling again. Not for cameras, but for herself. Keanu visited often. Never unannounced. Always respectful. He never asked how she was doing. He just showed up with something thoughtful. A book he thought she might enjoy. A box of tea. Or simply silence. When that was what she needed most, they had become more than co-stars. They were friends who had walked through fire together and come out the other side. Not burned, but brighter. One Sunday morning, they sat on the beach, not far from her home. It was quiet, with only the sound of waves brushing the sand and seagulls crying in the distance. Anna leaned back on her elbows, eyes closed, soaking in the peace. "You ever think about going back to the way things were?" she asked. Keanu shook his head slowly. "No," he said, "because then we'd have to forget everything we've learned." "You think we've changed?" she asked. "I think we've grown," he answered. Anna smiled, brushing her hair back. "People asked me why you did it," she said. "Did what?" "Off the set that day, risked everything." For me, Keanu didn't speak for a long moment. Then he said, "Because too many people walk by pain. They see it, feel it, but they keep walking. I didn't want to be one of them." Anna looked at him quietly. "I think you saved me." "Maybe," he said, "but I think you saved yourself the moment you decided to stop hiding." A soft breeze passed between them. "Do you miss acting?" she asked. "Sometimes," he said, "but I don't miss pretending." Anna laughed softly. "Maybe we should make our own kind of movie." Keanu raised an eyebrow. "What kind?" "One that doesn't need scripts. Just real moments. Real people. Kindness without camera angles." He nodded, That sounds like something worth filming. Anna pulled her knees up, wrapping her arms around them. You know what's strange? She said. What? I used to think I was strong because I could take pain. Now I think I'm strong because I learned to walk away from it. Keanu smiled. That's not strange, he said. That's wisdom. She tilted her head, looking at him. And what did you learn? Paused. That sometimes the kindest thing you can do is simply stay. She didn't reply. Just reached out, held his hand gently, and gave a small, grateful squeeze. As the sun climbed higher, casting warm gold across the waves, they sat side by side. Not as stars, not as survivors, just two people who had faced something dark and decided to walk through it with grace. It's not revenge. Weeks later, Anna published an article. It wasn't a tell-all. It was titled The Day Someone Saw Me. In it, she wrote about strength, kindness, and the power of one person choosing to care when they didn't have to. She never mentioned Keanu by name, but everyone knew. People shared the article around the world. Young actors printed it out and taped it to their walls. It was used in support groups, passed along in workshops, and read aloud in quiet rooms where others still struggled to speak. And that's how the story grew. Not loud, not viral, not explosive, but slow, gentle, true Keanu. Kept working, choosing small projects, but he always stayed in touch with Anna. They wrote to each other even when they were on opposite sides of the world. Sometimes just a quote, sometimes a photo of the sky a year after the film. Anna launched a foundation not for fame, but to give safe spaces to women like her. She named it Silent Strength. Keanu attended the opening, standing in the back. No spotlight, no speech, just support. That night, Anna walked on stage and said, "This began the day someone saw a bruise and didn't look away." The room went silent, and then they stood, not for the star, but for the truth, because kindness, when done quietly, leaves the loudest echo.